Csacsim, miért bánkodnál? Lesz majd új gazdád, éppen rád vár. Ne félj te semmit, én vigyázok rád. Nekem te leszel mindig a legjobb barát. Száll az idő messzire, adhatnál annak, ki kisebb, mint te. Kell egy érzés, hit, remény, mind azt, mi szép.
Hello and welcome to Conversations with Nurit. I am Nurit and I'm speaking with you today from Budapest, Hungary. And my guest today is a very dear friend, Burt Harding. And Burt is in Vancouver, BC, in Canada. Burt is actually my husband's first teacher. And I think you remember him well. And Burt is a spiritual teacher. He is also the founder of the Awareness Foundation in Vancouver. And he's an author of 5 books. And I just want to read the titles because I love the titles of your books. The first one was called Hiding in Plain Sight.
Yeah.
Right, I love that. And the second one is The Perfection of Awareness. And then The Fire and Mystery of Awareness. I think he's big on awareness. And then the fourth one is actually, we interviewed on that last time. If you remember, November of last year, I interviewed you on that one. It's called The Truth the World Doesn't Want You to Know. And today I have the great pleasure and honor to interview you on your 5th book, The Wonder of You.
Thank you.
That's again a wonderful title, so I love it. I read the book; it's wonderful, and there's such a feeling in the book of appreciation for everyone, and not in a personalized way, but as we truly are, as our true nature. And it really, Burt, it really comes across beautifully. It's you really feel it. You feel loved and you feel appreciated, but on an inner level, not falsely like most people give compliments today. It's very heartfelt. So wonderful. Thank you so much for sending it, and thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. It's a pleasure being with you too.
Thank you very much. So. Right off the bat, I wanted to ask you something wonderful that you write in your book is about your recent experience, I think it's recent, of awakening. I only call it recent because in my last interview, we talked about the awakening that you had through a dysfunctional relationship. And that was hard to hear, but wonderful at the same time because it got you to where you are.
Mm-hmm, right.
And then in this book, you write about the illness. Tell us about that experience, what it did for you, and how it affected your awakening.
Yeah, I had actually, it's through that later on I discovered what are called near-death experience that happening now, and it's widespread. People are getting more in touch with it. There's 13 million people who have had NDEs, according to the IANDS. IANDS is spelled IANDS, which is the International Association of Near-Death Stories. My experience, I'm still learning from it. My second experience of light. I was married to Sylvia at the time. She's a wonderful woman, still is. Sometimes I'm in touch with her. Anyway, one day I exercise daily, I eat well, I was perfectly healthy. And all of a sudden I developed a great fever for no apparent reason. And the fever was reaching almost up to 106, it was over 105. Yeah, and she was taking my temperature every day. I was all red and everything. And then as soon as the fever abated, I went into tremors, tremendous shaking, and I was not able to eat too much. I was losing weight, etc. And then I would go into a fever again, and then it would repeat over and over again. It went on for about 5 days. Well, she wanted to call the doctor, and of course I didn't want that. See, the reason I didn't want that at the moment, because I felt that this is something I needed to learn. See, this is what happened. Ever since I was 8 years old, I had impaired vision, a great blurriness. And while during this fever, my eyesight was more than perfect.
Wow.
In 2020. And I have a feeling, as I look back, it could have been my third eye that opened and I was seeing on a higher level. And because of that feeling of sight, despite my suffering at the moment, I knew that this was something I'm not understanding, but it is not something that medical science can treat. I was sure of that. However, on Friday morning, which was the 5th day, I believe, I had the knowing that I'm dying. I was sure of it, as a matter of fact, but I didn't want to tell Sylvia that. And she took one look at me and I couldn't even speak. I was so weak, I couldn't get up at all of the bed, And my face was white. My body was all different lines and lesions, like black, blue, and red. And one leg was a little bigger than the other. And at that point, my face was so white, it's like a sheet, And anyway, she called 911 and the ambulance came and took me to Vancouver General Hospital. Now, what happened at the General Hospital, I'm still not clear exactly what happened. When I was there on the gurney, and it was full of doctors and nurses where I was, the area, I had an out-of-body experience. And for a moment, as I was watching myself on the gurney, I felt so good, so relaxed. All of a sudden, I was free of my body. And I could see the people, what they were thinking and feeling. It was all very clear. One thing that I became aware of is that all the doctors were with the belief that the human being is just an animated meat,
Yeah.
just a body.
Yeah.
And then I experienced light. I experienced it as a little bit of light coming at me, but I don't know whether it was coming at me or I was going towards it. And then I became light. Now, this is the thing that kind of changed everything, and it brought such a transformation, because although Burt was there and I had my thoughts, I had my feelings, I had everything alive in me, what is known as Burt was there, and yet I was the light. I didn't experience any visions, I didn't experience anyone, but I felt that this light itself is what we call source or God. And then again, after a while, the thought of being on the gurney came to me. And at that moment, as soon as I became aware, as soon as the thought hit me that I am the body lying there, I entered the body back into the pain. When I arrived, even though I was feeling the pain and my eyes opened a little bit at that moment, Sylvia took one look at me and saw me smiling, and she thought, oh, something happened that's making him feel good. One doctor approached me, seeing me smiling, and he and he said to me, "This is very, very serious." And of course, actually, he said something to the nurse next to him. He said, "I think he's an idiot," referring to me.
Well, from his standards, maybe.
Yeah, right, right. Anyway, we were placed in a room, a very dark room, windowless, and Sylvia wanted us to stay with me. We were locked in there for 16 hours, and she slept on the floor next to me. So the next day, they took me for examination. They didn't find anything wrong with me at all. So to make a long story short, I knew that I was healing. It didn't matter to me. I didn't take the drugs they gave me, which is antibiotics. So, you know. And after that, on the fifth day, I believe, fourth or I guess it's the fifth. My memory is not that good when it comes to these things. We went home and I was perfectly normal. But what stayed with me is that light that constantly kept coming back to me, and I felt so good. You know, the light to me was like, you know, when you fall in love and you feel so good. Now multiply that 1,000 times, and that's how the light felt, unconditional love. And that convinced me that what we call God or source is not an entity, but this unconditional infinite light of being. And the reason I called the book The Wonder of You is because the wonder of you is one word. You know, I give it one word, present.
Yeah.
You are always present. People sometimes think, oh, I want to awaken to the truth. No, don't. There's no such thing as awakening to truth. You are always present. And the present itself is without a beginning and without end. It's infinite. It's eternal. It's always. And this is the very nature of being. And it's a wonder because you think of the word present only. And as soon as you think, as you feel it rather than think it, it begins to bring revelations of how powerful it is. First of all, there's nothing but present. There is no past because when the past happened, it was present. There is no future because when the future happens, it will be present. You know, so the present is the very nature of being. And there is nothing that you cannot answer when you think of present, which is presence. Now, what else can we say about presence? It is all the qualities of love, freedom, joy, happiness, peace, and everything else. This is the very nature of being. And what I discovered is that when people are suffering, which I get letters every morning and I get clients, you know, sadness, depression, problems, these are all a form of seeking the unconditional light that we are. In other words, we are always seeking the self.
Yes.
You know, the self that we always are every moment, which is called the present. So shall I go on?
That's great. I have a comment and another question that I wanted to ask you. First of all, when you described the illness, there was something that you said that I feel I would love to highlight, since it's almost like a hidden secret there. You said you realized that something was happening that you didn't understand. And from what I understood from you is that was the experience, and that you surrendered to not being able to understand it.
Yes, thank you for saying that. I failed to say it and you said it beautifully.
I picked it up from what you were saying, and
This is what the surrender that actually brought such fast healing too. Yeah, and also when I felt I was dying, I also surrendered. And one thing that I say very often, which is also a good thing to quote, is that thy will be done. Now, some people always believe that thy will be done means what God wills. But you see, there is no God and you, there is only you. God is the totality, the wholeness, the beingness, the present. So thy will is also my will, which is unconditional love. So what we're seeking all the time without knowing it, is to be loved unconditionally. And we're always wanting to be loved. The only thing is that people suffer so much, emotional pain, is because they want to feel loved by others rather than loving themselves also, because unconditional love means total unconditional love. You see? So this means loving yourself despite what you're feeling. Because if you're feeling something negative, it means there's a lesson that is unresolved. You need to know. And as you get to know it, you'll expand in that present, in that presence of who you are. And that's the wonder of you, really.
Yes, that's beautiful. Yeah, that comes across beautifully in your book. And I wanted to ask you now, this is on behalf of the viewers who have not had near-death experience and may be wondering, without that experience, how might they come to know and to experience that unconditional love or the light that you speak of?
Yes, so this is the beautiful thing, is that when you experience the light, you come to know in an instant how it all is. It's just that there's instant wisdom. And the reason is clear, because the word present is all you need to know. Not think about, but know. When you begin to feel that the word present is total, you'll also begin to see that there is no past and there is no future. So in the presence of light, you go what is known as beyond time and space. You see, when I was in that light, I don't know whether it lasted a few seconds or a few minutes. There is no time at all, in truth. So there is no past and future. There is only the present forever and ever, eternally. You see, so everything is happening at once. It is only in the body that we experience time, you know, which is because our brain is a linear brain. And so it's set on time, sequential order of events, right? So when we begin to explore through the feeling of being present and we focus on it, I feel, because I've done this, you see, I had a woman, and I don't mind mentioning her name either, because she told me, Bert, you can mention it. I met a woman on Skype session, and I gave her the 5-step method. Her name is Ruth Orr. She's an incredible lady, and she's a numerologist and also a tarot reader.
Interesting. Her last name, Orr, in Hebrew, means light.
Ah, wonderful. Yeah, well, she is born Jewish. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, she's an incredible lady. Well, anyway, when I put her through the 5-step program, that one session alone, which only lasted just a little bit over an hour, she transformed.
Wow.
And she's willing to say so, you know. So from then on, we became very good friends. Now, the reason she transformed also is because she understood, after she did the 5 points, and we did it once, you remember, very, very briefly in our first interview with you. But when it's done and taken time, you slowly led into the space between thoughts. And then at the 5th level, you give away everything, your own identity, your name, your past, and everything, and you become totally empty. When you are totally empty, and I ask the person, okay, right now that you're totally empty, you've given up everything, what is left? And what is left is, I am here, I am aware, I am, which is the present. Now that present is itself light when it's completely felt and experienced. So when you focus Eckhart Tolle called it the power of now.
Mhm.
You focus on the now completely to the point where everything disappears and there's only this moment. When you are in this moment, that's all the knowledge you need. You know, funny thing is, I watched Gabor for the first time, and I watched him I think two days ago, and he was answering a woman. And as soon as she asked the question, now questions always include a form of maybe some confusion in the person, because question comes from the word quest, to seek. And the one thing in all questions, there's one thing in common with all seeking. You're always seeking yourself. Gabor went into his usual very quiet self. He mouths it over. He becomes very, very silent. And then he starts talking, very
Yes.
slowly explaining. And then he goes into a momentum, you know, and it takes on a moment of its own.
Yeah.
And finally, it's very clear. You see what the answer is. So, so what I'm saying here is, in the moment lies all knowledge, in the present moment. So when we focus on the moment, which is pure awareness itself, that is complete. You know, one time somebody asked me, and when they said, if you felt that all knowledge came to you at the moment, why do we suffer? Why is this happening the way it is? The way it came to me is that this pure awareness, which we call source or God, wanted to experience itself. But it couldn't experience itself because it was awareness. And awareness does not self-recognize. It's just aware, but it's not aware of itself.
Mhm.
So in other words, just like the eyes, they see everything, but they cannot see themselves. So this awareness created consciousness out of itself. Now consciousness takes into it thought, emotions, and mind. The mind is consciousness, actually, okay? But the reason when you go into the light and consciousness is still there, you're fully conscious when you're in the light, so there is no death, really. The wonderful thing about it is that you're beyond time and space. So when you are beyond time and space, there is no negativity possible, because it's only time that creates past and future, that creates all the problems of self. So space also, space means that we think that our consciousness is localized. We own it, but consciousness is not local. It's not localized. It just is. You know, it's whole. So when you get a moment of total presence, there is a form of disappearance of what we call ego.
Yeah.
It's as if the past does not exist and there's no future, there's only now. And in that now, you begin to feel a form of joy. You feel complete. You haven't arrived anywhere, you haven't achieved anything, you haven't awakened. You just are, I am, always is, you know. And in that isness, I hope I'm answering the question for people who ask the question, you know, you said, how do I experience life?
Yeah.
This is a form of light too, that when you enter the total present, the silence itself becomes a form of, hey, you know, it's clear, everything is clear, everything is light.
Mhm.
And I don't know how else to put it, because consciousness, everything is conscious in the world, but it is imbued with time and space, and therefore it's full of suffering. See, because time and space creates a form of duality. So when awareness says, I want to experience myself, it needed to create a mirror. The mirror was consciousness. So consciousness creates thought out of itself. And so when we think, we say, I am aware of thought, not the other way around. So awareness comes first and then thought. Thought is what produced the world. So the world that we see is thought manifested, because like Jesus said, if you believe it, it is so. So the moment you believe something, it already manifested.
Yeah.
Just like if somebody sneezes in your face and you're very conscious of getting a cold, and at the moment you believe, oh my God, you know, I'm going to get a cold. At that moment you start sneezing probably. Because belief is so powerful. And so the moment you believe it, that's the world. So the world we live in is not really real. It's thought manifested as consciousness. Everything is consciousness. You know, I felt when I was in the light that if I saw a tree, which I didn't, but if I saw a tree and I say, oh, there's a tree, I'll become the tree at the moment. If I saw grass and I said, oh, I wonder how the grass is, and I become the grass. So everything is consciousness. See, this is the beauty of life, is that the wonder of you are that, you know?
Yeah.
And so the word present to me is complete.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you so
Am I
much.
talking too much?
Pardon?
I get excited when people ask me, well, you know, who am I? Do I need to learn this? Do I need to study? Do I need to go through? No, you just need to know how beautiful you already are.
Yeah.
And any pain that you get and any suffering that you get is just a lesson. You don't need to get rid of it. You don't need to fight it. You know,
Yeah.
you just get in touch with it because it's a lesson. We're always seeking who we are. You know?
Yes. Yeah. For the sake of our viewers, if you're seeing Burt and I for the first time, just want to mention that a person you mentioned, Gabor, that is my husband, who was your first student.
Oh, right,
No,
right.
sorry, you were his first teacher. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to tie the loop for the audience, the viewers who are watching this.
Okay.
That's wonderful, Bert. I love your explanation because it's so simple, and it's so free. There's such freedom of spiritual bullshit. It's part of my expression.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Yes.
In your explanation and the way you speak about it, it's you obviously you're full of light and full of devotion and present and conscious.
And that's the word devotion, which
Mhm.
is to be devoted to who you are, which you always are. Always. Yeah. You're always seeking yourself. Sorry. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. I feel like most people have a very strong sense of devotion. Obviously, we're yearning for something, and I feel like
That's right.
there's been we've been misled though.
Yes.
Been taught to be devoted to someone or to an organization or to the government or to our teachers and to the
Yeah.
doctors and what is your take on the way spirituality is today? What I feel that the
What I find happens, and I met many non-duality teachers, they get dry, they get very knowledgeable, but it's all intellectual.
yes.
All a matter of heart, not mind. You have to feel it. There's nothing to learn, really. You know, I know people get exasperated when I say things like that, but there's nothing to learn. There's only to know who you are in the moment. And that is such a priceless jewel, because who you are is this presence, this
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
And this moment is rich. But you identify with the past conditioning. I'm a Hindu, I'm a Jew, I'm a past, I am Maltese, you know, I am this and that. I've been abused, you know. Like when I was 8 years old, I was abused by a priest, sexually molested. And maybe that contributed to my impaired eyesight. I don't know. I'm not trying to figure it out. But it left a scar. But when I experienced the first light experience, there was total forgiveness of the priest, because when a person is subjected to control by society or anything at all. For example, priests are subjected to being celibate by force. Well, their sexuality needs to be expressed because sexual energy is energy. Everything is just beautiful energy, and everything has its beauty.
Yes.
Right. So to love yourself is to see that you are a wonder, the wonder of you. And when you see how beautiful you are, despite your seeking and your pain and your negativity, which is all part of the play, which needs to be resolved, but it's lessons that you learn and to grow from.
Mm-hmm.
If you hate yourself for hating yourself, and if you feel pain for feeling pain, or anger for being angry, this simply exacerbates the situation and makes it worse. And this is why people suffer so much.
Yeah.
And sometimes they get even physical pain out of it. But in truth, you are very beautiful. Yeah.
It's tough because of the conditioning, and we've been trained to acquire more and more and more and more knowledge.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. I was shortly before we came to Hungary, I was walking with a friend in a beautiful forest, and she asked me about what I practice, and so I guided her into presence, and we walked together, and we were both very present, and it was beautiful silence, and she must have felt something because it was so palpable. And at the end of it, she said, "Yeah, it's very nice, but I still need to learn a lot because I haven't read any books about this. I haven't gone to any courses yet." And I said, "Why would you want to?" But we're trained. We're trained, and there's so many books out there and so many courses.
That's right.
That you feel gypped if you don't do those.
Yeah, and the whole point of any literature and any book, and I love writing books, but it's only for the feeling that somebody might read something and go beyond the word to a feeling, heart feeling of it.
Yeah. Well, your books are not intellectual. They guide you. You have the 5 steps, and you have the feeling in your books. There is a feeling of devotion and unconditional love and excitement of what you found. So it's very different reading a book like that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a system called inquiry, which Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi advocated. And that's a beautiful way, like, who am I? What am I?
Mm-hmm.
And then to feel it, not try to figure it out, because it's so easy to stop and start thinking about it, you see.
Yeah.
Feel the wonder of you in the now, Yeah,
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. One other thing I wanted to ask you, and that is a very dear friend of mine. His name is Robert Rabin. He started this project. He has a Facebook page on it. It's called the 10% Project. And what he is requesting, he feels that there's a lot of conscious people out there, wonderful teachers who do seminars and workshops and retreats, and what he would like to see is more, maybe even 10%. That's why it's called 10%, of some kind of awareness towards social responsibility. To have people use what they've learned spiritually in order to affect some change in the world, which to all appearances right now is not in a good place.
Yeah.
What's happening there and everywhere else. What is something that you could say about that?
So many people say to me, Burt, how can I change the world? How can I make people first change yourself? And then it will come automatically. You don't have to do anything. All you have to learn is to wonder of you, find out who you are. When you do, even your presence will begin to change people. Even your smile, even you start giving, because love is a giving. But the giving comes from being present, you see? And this is how you contribute to the world, not by trying to change anything, but by simply contributing more love. See, all the people who have passed away from the body and returned due to medical miracles lately of resuscitation, they're able to bring back people back to life even after flatlined the heart and the brain died, you know. Excuse me. And
I'll drink with you.
yeah. One thing that everybody has learned is that we need more love. And the only way to contribute to life is you start loving. Excuse me. I get very excited when I talk about this.
Well, if I yawn, when somebody yawns, it's contagious, right? Why wouldn't love be contagious?
Yes. Well, love is contagious. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the love that you have of yourself, which is the self that you are, automatically imbues itself onto the one you are with. You know, they can feel it.
Of course. What would you say in wrapping the session? What would you say is the most important message that you have in this book? By the way, can you show it, please? Do you have it with you?
This is the book.
Oh.
Okay. It's a very small, handy little book. The publisher, she's brilliant in producing very nice little books with a nice size font to read. The main thing is to know, again, to remember those words, the wonder of you. We take ourselves for granted, believing that we are just an ego. Ego simply refers to the fact that we are the conditioned idea of who we think we are. You see, and we are not. We are not conditioned. We are, every moment is new. Every moment is fresh and alive. And we're constantly learning about who we are. In fact, you know, when you're alive in the moment, you live longer. You're healthier, you have more energy, and you actually become ageless because, again, you're not thinking of the body. That doesn't mean you don't care for the body. In fact, people who are aware of the wonder of themselves care more for their body. They care what to eat, what to put into their system. So I'm trying to make it brief here. The idea of it is to, again, be aware of who and what you are moment to moment without effort. All it takes is a stillness. Like Gabor does when he's asked a question, he becomes very still and then he listens to his own silence and the silence speaks through him. It is not Gabor that speaks, it is his silence. When I am speaking, my excitement talks. Not Burt. My devotion is talking. My love of self is talking. And the self is not an individual. It just is. We can call it God. You can call it unconditional love. We can call it light or freedom.
Or you can call it wonder.
Oh, wonder, yes.
Yeah. Yes. I think it's a wonder how it manifests, like you're describing Gabor, how he goes into the stillness and he speaks from that, and you go into your devotion and excitement and speak from that. It manifests in different ways, but presence is presence, and it's beautiful how
That's right.
manifests in different ways.
Yes. See, that's another thing, that each individual is unique.
Yeah.
It's a unique expression of God, of the wholeness. It's still whole, but it's still unique. Just like the waves of the ocean, each wave is seemingly separate and unique and different, and yet it's all one water. And we're the same. We are sparks of that one divine thing, but each one of us is unique. And that's the beauty, and to appreciate that uniqueness too, because there isn't anyone like you in the whole universe.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's why there's so much wonder in children. They haven't been conditioned yet, so they exude so much wonder and so much of that natural.
Yes, that's the beauty. To watch a child play, actually, is in itself a lesson in being.
Yes, yes. That's why I've started for the music in my videos, I started having a child singing, just to hear the innocent voice and the beauty of the wonder of a child's soul in there. I felt it was wonderful to do.
Yes.
5 steps, the 5 steps to emptiness. Is that the same 5 steps that you talked about last time?
Yes, yeah, those are the 5 steps that were shown me in the light, and it came to me very, very naturally. And I've been using it with every Skype. I do a Skype every day, at least one a day. And and I found that it helps tremendously when people are open to it. And usually they're open when they give a donation for the session. So, and when you're open to it, it can't help but bring progress. Because again, you start becoming aware of your own thoughts, and then you become aware also that when you ask yourself, I wonder what the next thought is going to be, and you wait for the thought, you create a gap between thoughts. And you'll find that your true nature is not the thought, but the gap between thoughts, that silence. And then finally, the 5th one, of course, you experience total being. When everything is removed, what is left? And the moment you glimpse on what is left, that is your true nature. That cannot die because it was never born. So you are beyond death and beyond time and beyond space. You see, because you're everywhere at the same time, and it still feels as you.
Yes.
Beauty. I used to think, oh my goodness, if I die though, and without a body and without an ego, so what's the point? I'd be blah. But you're more alive in the light beyond body than in the body. It's more real than what we call reality here. As a matter of fact, when you compare, you find that this is a dream, what we call daily life. So depending upon how dedicated you are to knowing the truth of you, that will awaken it, bring clarity.
Do you do seminars or courses, or are you just private?
I'm giving a retreat in Victoria, BC in February 19, 3-day retreat, yeah. I've stopped a lot of activity. I do mostly Skype sessions lately.
Yeah. I think one-on-ones are very, very helpful for people.
Yeah. I do love the retreats too, because I get special people, and they're very dedicated to spend 3 days,
Yeah. And just for the viewers, Burt also has many, many videos on his website.
725, I believe.
725. Okay. I get started. That's fantastic. Yeah. So I will, of course, leave the website address for everyone to find, and so people can listen to those. Wonderful. Gabor and I have listened to quite a few of them. They're really wonderful.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. We really like your style. It's very loving and respectful, and yet.
Oh, thank you. I never think of it one way or another.
Yeah.
I just feel that I have something to say and I say it.
Well, if you thought about it, it probably wouldn't be the same.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, no, it definitely is full of feeling, and there's a tremendous respect that one feels from you to everyone, and so your unconditional love is demonstrated, and it's not,
Oh, thank you very
which is great because so many people toss that word around, and there I even see it on Facebook sometimes. There's just people have whole dissertations of explanation of what it means, and I think if it requires more than a sentence, then it's probably not it.
Very good. It is very, very simple. And incidentally, before we end it, there is one thing that would be nice for people to say the moment they get up in the morning and before going to bed.
Yeah.
And I have found it very, very helpful to say, first of all, if we were to define who you are, you can say, I am, which is isness, I am. So the moment you get up in the morning, yawn, and I find that's very, very good, because it brightens your whole system. And then say, I am divinely guided and protected.
Mm.
Every always at the same time and place, always at the right time and the right place.
That's nice. Yeah.
Okay, you say that every morning and every night.
Yeah.
And that keeps you already,
Mm.
you filled with awareness of who you are. And awareness does not take time and it doesn't take effort. Another thing too, sometimes you're walking in nature or wherever, and if you're not talking to anyone, you take a pause and just become still.
Mm.
All it takes a few seconds, just be still. And in that stillness, there is a remembering that you are this wonder. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I feel very important because people today have such busy lives, and it's very easy for the mind to use that busyness as an excuse.
Well, that's why many people are so hyper and stressed, you see. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, anyone can take a second here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's.
Everyone can take it, absolutely, to take pauses, you see, and to be still. And it only takes a few seconds just to be still and to feel that stillness, feel that moment.
Yeah, it's delicious.
It's delicious, yes. Just biting into a juicy peach,
Scrumptious moment.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Very.
this is so much fun, Bert. I could talk to you all night. It's
Oh, good,
well,
good.
for you it's morning. For me it's evening. Um, it's great. We'll have to do this again soon.
Yes, yes,
Start writing your
absolutely.
next book.
Yes. I don't really write them. Sometimes I get up in the morning and all of a sudden comes this urge and I just start writing.
Yeah.
I send it to my publisher. She's, and she turns it into a book. She does most of the work. I write it, but she puts it together and she's brilliant.
Oh, that's excellent.
It's called In the Garden Publishing.
Yes, you sent to me that. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Wonderful. Good. Another wonderful session with Burt Harding. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I have. I can't get the smile off my face. I can see all Burt's teeth as well, so that's a good thing. Yeah. So wonderful. Thank you again so much. And
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
we'll hope we'll do this again soon. So
Okay.
have a wonderful day and good night to everyone who's in my part of the world.
And good morning, who's in Canada.
Yeah, and that's right. That's right. And lots of joy and unconditional love to everyone.
Everyone. The wonder of you.
The wonder of you. Yes.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Csacsin, miért bánkódsz útnál lesz most.